Hello and welcome to the Daily Aus. I'm Harry Sekulich.
I'm Billi FitzSimons.
Your HECS balance is about to go down by 20%. In Parliament yesterday, the government passed its bill to reduce all student debts. So when will this actually apply to your HECS account, and what if you already paid off your HECS debt? We asked what you wanted to know about this new development, and today we're here to answer all your questions.
Okay, Harry, so we are talking about the HECS discount. Now, this is one of the key promises from the Labor government at the last election, and it has now gone through Parliament. For anyone who missed this, do you want to just explain what exactly it is? Because my understanding is this is just a one-off discount. It's not a, long-term overall reduction on the price of uni degrees.
Yeah, that's right, Billy. So it's the reduction in the value of a debt. It doesn't necessarily translate to anything beyond that. So the price of a uni degree, the price of a TAFE course or private college, that's not changing necessarily. Yep. But what this does apply to is the value of a debt balance at a particular time. And as far as we know, there's no plans to discount future debts if you don't already have one, or if you paid off a debt last year, that this doesn't necessarily apply to you. So I suppose it's important to put those guardrails in place that this is a one-off 20% discount on a debt balance on the 1st of June 2025.
So just to be clear there, this applies to the dollar figure that was attached to your HECS debt as of the 1st of June this year.
That's right, just before the indexation kicked in.
Got it.
So that's when the value of your debt goes up just slightly, and it's based on one of two measurements. It's either the wage price index or the consumer price index. Yep. Without going too deep into what that means, it's just basically increasing in line with the value of money over time.
Yes. Got it. Okay, so let's go to the questions that we got from the audience yesterday. The first one we got was, does it apply to private unis and all degrees?
Yeah, effectively it does, because the federal government oversees and administers all things relating to student debts at a higher education level. So when you want to start studying at an accredited institution, so universities or private colleges, you can get what's known as a higher education loan program, or HELP. And it doesn't really matter which institution you get this HECS debt or HELP debt from. It'll all be processed in the exact same way when it comes to this discount. So like I said, this is a discount on the value of a debt. That debt is pretty much the same across the board in the sense that it all comes from the same place, which is the federal government. So it will apply to you if you have a HELP debt sitting there.
I'm one of those people who always gets confused between HELP debt and HECS debt. But for the purposes of this conversation, it really doesn't matter. It literally just applies to all student debts.
Student debt. I think that's like the more, I guess, inclusive term.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always just tend to say HECS just
yes, I think
automatically.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Okay, next question that we got. What happens if I have already lodged my tax return and paid off my HECS? Will I be refunded? And just another one that kind of relates to that. Someone asked, if I pay mine off in full now, will I get a 20% refund when it comes in?
So these two questions kind of touch on the same thing, which is how far back does the discount apply? And I'll go back to that date of the 1st of June because that's the all-important date for this HECS debt discount. If you want to pay off your full debt, make some further voluntary repayments in the next few months, but you haven't seen that HECS discount come into place, that doesn't matter. And this is why. It's a little bit technical, so I might just walk you through some of these stages. The way it'll work is if you had a HECS debt on the 1st of June, but you've since paid it off or you plan to pay it off before the discount, you'll get a credit to what's known as your HELP account. And then if you've got no further debts to the tax office, then that will be processed to you as a refund.
Right.
So basically the government's official advice is don't wait. If you want to pay off your full debt, if you've made some voluntary repayments, if you had a debt at the 1st of June, then you will be compensated in one way or another. And the actual discount amount only applies to that particular date. You will see it flow through to you in some form.
Got it. But let's say that if you paid off your HECS debt in full, let's say at the start of this year, then unfortunately this doesn't apply to you because you didn't have a debt as of the 1st of June this year.
That's right. So it doesn't backdate beyond the 1st of June.
Got it.
And it also doesn't apply to any future debts. Like I said, there's no plans, at least that we know about, for the government to make uni degrees cheaper or to discount the value of debts over time. It's just this one particular date. Hey, I'm Harry. I'm the political journalist here at the Daily Aus. If you like this video, you can subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future ones and you can see more about great stuff. Now, back to the deep dive.
All right, let's go to the next question, which was the number one question that we got from our audience.
Can I take a bit of a guess what it is?
Of course.
When will the HECS debt discount actually take place?
I think that is the question we got maybe thousands of times yesterday.
Understandably.
And so that is, when will we actually see this in our HECS debt accounts?
Yeah, so I needed a bit of help in answering this as well, because based on some of the messages that the government was putting out there, they were saying that it will take a little bit of time once the legislation becomes law, which it has now. Well, it needs royal assent from the Governor General, but that's just a very formal
procedural thing,
tick of the box thing that will happen. But basically what happens now is that the Australian Tax Office, also known as the ATO, they will be the ones processing this HECS debt, and that will apply automatically to hundreds, thousands of different accounts. The government has said that it can take a bit of time based on people's individual circumstances. It's a little bit case by case. The 20% might seem like a really straightforward formula, but it actually does take a little bit of working out because of the smaller factors like the indexation value that was applied. So it can just take a little bit of time. But I asked the Prime Minister when people can actually expect to see the value of their student debts reduced. And here's a bit of what he had to say.
Most people should see the benefit by the end of the year, and it will be backdated, importantly, to the 1st of June. It means an average of more than $5,500 off debt, because getting an education should mean a lifetime of debt.
So I can't say with absolute confidence that overnight on this particular date you are going to see your HECS debt reduced, but in the Prime Minister's words, it should be done by 2026.
Got it. So it will happen by the end of this year. Now, the other thing that has changed as part of this bill, which I think has got a little bit less airtime, but is still important, is the change to the minimum repayment threshold. Now, this is the minimum salary you need to have in order to start paying off your HECS debt. What is the change there?
The way that HECS was conceived as an idea when it first came into being was you start paying off this debt once you can afford to.
Yeah.
So in that way, it doesn't really work like other debts where, say, you take out a loan from the bank, you have to start paying it off despite your circumstances, that you are indebted to the bank, so you have to start giving them some money. The way that HECS debts work is that you need to earn a minimum amount before you start paying it off, and the more you earn, the more you pay off.
Yeah.
Right now, the minimum repayment threshold is $56,156, and that minimum threshold is now going to increase to $67,000, and that's all under the same piece of legislation that we saw the HECS debt discount fall under as well, which is just about to become law. And what this means is that over the next year or so, if you are earning, say, between $70,000 and $80,000, you'll actually find that over time, you're paying off a little bit less than you were last year because the minimum payment threshold has increased. And basically, there's a pay-as-you-go system. So there's a bit that's withheld from your pay each week. And then that all sort of comes together at the end at tax time, so July next year. And since the payment threshold is higher, you don't end up paying as much. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So what you're saying is that with the minimum repayment threshold changing, so too does all of the thresholds change.
They're all scaling up, if you
Got
like.
it.
So it's going from people at $56,000 and above paying it off to $67,000 and above paying off, and like I said, the more you earn, so if you get up to $100,000, $150,000, you end up having more pay withheld from your pay slip. And then people who are on slightly lower incomes but just meeting that threshold won't pay as much over the next financial year.
Got it. Harry, I think that's all of the questions that we got. Thank you so much for taking us through that.
No problem, Billy. There were some great questions.
And thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Daily Aus. We'll be back this afternoon with your evening headlines. But until then, have a great Friday.